All right, so now in this, all right, so in this last pass, we're touching up everything. You see, right now I'm working on that right side of the brow. Very long strokes in the front. We want the pixels to be so pretty and so natural. We don't want them to look too dark. We don't want the brows to look dark. We want it to be very noticeable and defined, but not dark. So long strokes is necessary. You'll also see how I skipped from the front of the brow to the tail. That's because at this point of the session, we're literally just touching up last little areas to ensure that everything is in tip top shape. And you, like I said previously, if you go outside of your lines, go ahead and clean that brow off. We are not just continuing to do work over brows. We want to see the impact we're making. We want to be patient and we want to ensure that what we give the client and what we see when we wipe away is what we promise the client when we map their brows. So, like I said, if you only go over one little time, it's usually forgiving. So, don't worry, but be sure to have a light hand throughout your process. Be sure to have a light hand. And we see this brow is so pretty and so light and so natural. That was the right side. So now we're going to come back over into the left side of the brow, which is what we have been working in for majority of these training for this video. And just a heads up, I worked mostly on this side because it's very repetitive. So there's no point in wasting you all's time and just having so much content of something that is exactly the same thing that I'm going to explain on the other side. It's literally the same thing, and that's the key. Do everything exactly the same. If you only do 2 passes on the left side, don't go over to the right side and do 4 passes, because I guarantee you that will make the brows look different. So be sure to do the exact same thing on one side as you do the other. If on the first pass you only shade that tail end, then on that right side only shade the tail end. If you do a tail pass and wipe and then do a full pass and wipe, go over to the other side and do a tail pass and wipe and a full pass and wipe. Do not get to doing different things on different sides, because you will pay for it later. And if you don't notice it now, once you put that numb on and allow the brow to occlude, or even allow the client to go home, you will later see that you did way too much on one side and one brow will be darker than the other brow. That's also something to keep in mind with your pigment color. Say you start working on a client, and because you want to start conservative, you use a very light color. So then once you're shading in and you're like, this color's too light, I need to make it a little darker because it's not really matching as perfect as I want it to. Do not adjust the color of the pigment until you do the same exact thing on the other brow. So if you know the color is too light, finish the pass where you notice it, go to the other brow with the same exact pigment and do the same exact thing on the other brow, and then adjust your concerns with your pigment color. Never make any changes to your pigment, to your pressure, to your shading methods until you do the exact same thing on the other brow. That is how you ensure that you never, ever, ever have one brow that's looking drastically different from the other one. I get it. We say it all the time in the industry. They're sisters, not twins, or they're fraternal, not identical. But at the end of the day, this is semi-permanent makeup. And with that, you are doing alterations to a person's face. And with that, you are responsible to make them as identical as humanly possible. Honestly, also machine possible. Like, you want to get these brows as similar and identical as possible. So never use any of those excuses when you know they're not the same. Never do more on one side than the other because your client will not appreciate that. Okay, and as you see, on this brow, I did have a little bit more to touch up. And sometimes that's because of the right side being closer to me. So I'm kind of heavier on that hand, but the left side being farther away. So it's easier for me to be very light. So that's the only reason why I have a little more work to do on this side, but it's not drastic. It's still one pass. It's still the same amount of passes. I did more on this last final one, but still the same amount of wipes. And even if I have to touch up very little areas, that's okay. That's possibly only because one side of the brow has a little less hair than the other side. And so therefore I have a little more work that I have to do. But like I said, it should never be drastic. It should never be like 5 more passes or 2 or 3 more passes than the other side. If anything, it'll just be one more wipe away than the other side. So we are now finished with this client's brows, and all praises. It was a beautiful session.